Oh, it's awesome. It's such a good community. I didn't expect it to be so good and to, just be able to come along and have chats with anyone so easily, and everyone's just so willing to share their adventures or advice, and it's just really encouraging. There's absolutely no ego around it. It's just, a cool group of people that love adventuring.
Adventurous at heart, mountaineers, ultra runners, people that love the wilderness.
It's all about the glory. Complete one of the 3 routes in one push. Buy yourself a t-shirt and get an invite to the awards event. Complete the main range SK in under 24 hours and join the exclusive Main Range Club. Do all 3 routes in under 24 hours and win a pretend space in the dusty road end car park of glory. Do 2 SKs back to back, or the 1500s, and get a koru engraved on the Patupaiarehe Award.
The Patupaiarehe were mythical Māori mountain spirits. A lot of mountain runners tend to disappear off into the mist, and so it seemed a fitting name. I carry the same design on my skin. The 4 korus represent mum and dad, me and my brother. My family is where I draw a lot of my strength. I have carved a koru in for each recipient. We lost our friend Swallow. He has inspired so many of us to challenge ourselves, to push further, faster, higher. We've got a swallow on the shaft. This is actually the same design that he wore on his motorbike jacket.
If you want to take a seat, we've got it's going to be informal, but it's also got 3 talks to get through, and so you have to have a degree of formality, and you don't want to be here too all night, because we want the chats as well. Because in previous years we've had a big lot of talks, and no one's really had a time to catch up, and everyone goes home. But essentially, it's good to get all the good people in the room. Well, there's a lot of experience in here. It's always been a good group of people. It's always got a good vibe. And we're talking about it tonight. I think the importance of keeping the SK going in terms of the speed records and the running and stuff like that is as what I would have wanted, is to bring that formality, aka the background round, with the certificates, with the website, with this night. As long as we get the formality going, I think new people will rise to the challenge. So it's important we have this legacy. Hopefully, we'll just keep going now. I don't know how many years now. I always say it's the 5th. It might be. I'm losing track of the years. Man, things are going pretty fast. So I just want to say in summary, not in summary, but I was up on Dundas Ridge on Friday night, and I was thinking, and the wind was coming in, and it was gnarly as F. And I'm going, this SK we're doing, that you guys are doing, it's the real deal. It's really essentially a wilderness challenge. It's not an ultra runner challenge. It's a tramper wilderness challenge with a 24-hour event to it, but it's hardcore. We went up on Friday night. We're going along some ridges. The wind was coming in. I was with Bogdan and Perry, and he was thinking about doing a main range. The wind was coming in. The flag was coming in. It was freezing. I was going, mate, things can go wrong. So, as much as we want to keep building this up, we have to hammer home the message. It's a dangerous thing. I think Swallow always expected people to do it with someone with them and tag teaming them. There's people out doing solo stuff, and they'll be in an exhausted state, and it's just important to know. And I know there's young guys coming through now, and they do have that respect. We've got to hammer that respect home, because things could turn to custard. That was something I felt like on Friday night. I was thinking, shit, you've got to keep your wits about you. Is it working there?
And do you want to just stand forward a little bit so you...
Yeah. Yeah, so, no, I think it's really cool. So essentially, the SK main range is the Holy Grail. It's what it was all about in the first instance when Swallow followed in the legacy of the awesome 24-hour challenges and Colin Rolfe and Pidcock and did that sub 24. And then the other two, Tarn and SK Valley. Well, Tarn's kind of like still awesome, and SK Valleys is meant to be the beginner. It's not really a beginner. I did the SK Valleys and it doesn't feel beginner, but anyway. We'll start off at SK Valleys stats. So I'll do the stats first. Oh, tonight you will have the stats. So I've done the sort of intro. We'll do the stats. We've got 3 excellent talks for you tonight. And we will have, after the talks, we'll have the handout of certificates. We do have 2 successful main range completions this season. So that's good. You always have good to have the certificates, and we'll have the Patupaiarehe Award, the Tararua Award. I always get that wrong. Sorry, apologies. As well, and yeah, and then hopefully we'll have time for like a bit of a chat with the people in the room. So, and the food hopefully come out as well. So, it started appearing. So if you want to just go and grab it as you paid for it. So yeah. So okay, so I've got the stats on the thing. I've tried to do it by first we'll do SK Valleys. I've put the years on there, but yeah, I don't know if I've missed anyone out, or essentially we've had 122 SK Valleys now. That's pretty amazing over the years we've been doing it. The ones, I'll just put the 2025 ones. Actually, Jake, you did it, did you do it this year? Jake's here. You did it this year. This season, you did it this season or last season? This one. Well, when you say this last summer. Anyway, so Jake, I'll start with Jake. Yeah, that was awesome. I think he's only 17. Awesome. 12:57. That's pretty impressive. And the Tararua Mountain Race winner, which is a huge accomplishment at such a young age. That kind of 24-hour suffering, I thought that came with a slightly old man status, but it's coming through, and the young guys are coming through. It's really, really amazing. Initially, when I thought these young guys coming through, there's no way they're going to suffer this, and they're just hammering it. It's really awesome stuff. I think it's awesome. Matt Compton, 1731 Ashurst. Patrick O'Reilly and Matt O'Reilly, 1855. Ed Cappy. Oh, so this is Ed is Liz's son. He's only 15, and he did it with his mum and Sean in 22:18, which is amazing. A 15-year-old doing it. I don't think they're here tonight, but that's big ups for that. That's pretty impressive. Then Kerry, who me and Bogdan were up on the Dundas Ridge last weekend. Whanganui, and Ryan Hattie, his mate from Pukekohe, 23:14. Gordon Powell from Wellington, 23:22. Sam Hansby is second SKV in Western Hill. Western's really fast, and Sam's really fast.
Can you slide it up? Next slide.
Oh yeah, so SKV2, please. Yeah. They did 11:53. They're still, the top 10 is really fast now. Since Dan Jones did the, I haven't got the top 10, but you can check them out on the website. Some super quick times. You're going to have to do 13 hours and change, I think, to get in the top 10 now. It's just insane. And then we had the first married couple, Kieran and Chris Fahey, first couples FKT, 1948. So there's a couples category now. So if anyone's got a partner that wants to experience a bit of pain, there's a couples category. And
I'm still working on it.
Yeah, yeah. And it's a bonding experience. Alex Jones, I don't think Alex is here actually. Naughty. Alex Pones, Puzzy and Branley, Tom Middlemiss. Tom's done in main range, 1940. Paul Bird, he's hardcore. Marta's partner, 1628. He always does epic stuff. Albert O'Reilly, younger, 14 years old with the dad. So, 14. He's here. Mate, that is amazing. That is actually, that is insane now. how can you have don't know, the words. That is impressive. Well done, Albert, that's so impressive. And 122nd is Valentinas Bakaitis from Lithuania, 1921. Oh, I did it via Cattle Ridge. So I did have a VAR sort of appeal saying they have to do the river, but I still counts. But I think it would be harder, but it's important to do the river and then SK Valleys. So next we'll have the Tarn stats. So if you can chuck the Tarn up there. And then we had, and I'll start from Angus Ward probably. Oh, so Olivia, yeah, oh, so you can see it. Olivia did it in 21:05. Hamish Merrick, 22:24. Angus Ward, 20:46. Then we've got Charlie here tonight, the young elite crew coming through, 21, 18 years old. That is epic, eh? Yeah, and he's also an epic photographer. So I see him on the Tararua forum posting his awesome. So, yeah, Charlie, Matt, and Ed, and Jake, and also Al Cross's son, Kieran, are doing some epic stuff in the mountains at a very young age. Really impressive. Andrew Van Barneveld, I think he's done a Wicklow round actually. He's from Wairarapa. He's from Wairarapa, lives in Ireland. He's done a Wicklow round as well. He did it in 21:15. Alex is here tonight, 23:24. And Jim's here tonight from USA, living in Eastbourne, 21:16. He's also done the main range. So that's pretty epic now, 43 Tarn SKs. That's really, it's a beautiful route. If any of you guys want to give it a crack, treat it with respect, but some of those peaks are just magic. Yeah, that's pretty.
Hamish also did the SK way, and he did that in 19. Oh, so yeah, he did the
This season?
One week, and then 6 weeks later he did the SK, so he did both directions at the time.
Yeah, that's awesome. Did you do that this season?
Yeah, 6 weeks apart.
Oh man, the stats. I'll have to get it on this. If I haven't got it on the stats, we'll get it up there. Eh? Mate, I'm missing. I've got. It's coming thick and fast now. I'm going to have to.
It's going to be hard effort now, eh?
Eh? I mean, anyone that does, if I have missed anything, don't ever think I don't think how impressive it is. It's flippin' epic, and you know the speed I'm going through doesn't really, it belies the epicness of it. It's hardcore. Everyone knows that it's. Anyone that's been up there knows how hardcore it is. It's really impressive, eh? So the main range stats will be next. This was the Holy Grail. We have so this season, it's always struggling a little bit to define what the difference is season. So forgive me, Jim got his award last, and Ali did. She did the fastest, 21:42. So we've had 2 people this season that have done it in under 24. So we've got 39 and 40th. And given that we're discussing it now, I think I'll probably give the certificate out now. Actually, Ian, can you grab the certificate off the table by Andy? So Olivia can't make it tonight. Unfortunately, her dad passed away. So she'd like to come here, but obviously she can't. But she did it in 23:59 and 48 seconds. So that was her. I think that's her 4th attempt. I was with her on one attempt when she had serious dehydration problems from Alpha. It was brutal. She's done a hard yards to get there. To get it done and so close is just Yeah, such nails, but yeah, it's really cool. She's one of the good sorts today. Well, everyone in this group actually is in the good sorts, and you know that's the beauty of the sport. There's some really good buggers out there. But yeah, Olivia's up in Hawke's Bay tonight. But I'll give out the certificate, and this was a great dot watch. This guy he shared his dot, and I was up watching his dot and following his messages. He was messaging, and at one point he said, done, it's done, or something done. And he was at Mungkoko, and I went, yeah, no, he's done, it's broken him, it's done. And I misinterpreted, he says, I'm going to get it done. And it's the hammer, Callum Mallett. Come home and get your certificate. 23.48. Mate. What up, mate? Callum you'll do your talk tonight anyway. So Callum's got a bit of a talk about how it went that night. So that's really awesome, eh? And yeah, so on the concept of these stats, we've got the also a really impressive. We've got the premium status people. Jim and Olivia, Stuart, Michael John, Brendan, and Jonathan from 223 have been adding to the list of the premium. That's all SKs in under 24 hours, Tarn, Valleys, and main range. And we've also got the Iridium, which is Iridium. I made these up, by the way. Hope you like them. That's all 4 SKs, including Carkeek, north to south, plus traverse in 24 hours. It's the holy grail. It's like the Enigma code or something. But there's one person that could have joined him. It's Brendan Varty, 25, joined Tim Sutton. The impossible. I was saying to Jonathan, he's not rewriting the rule book. He's tearing it up. Man, he's smashing all the records. So that's really impressive. And also we have the all 4 SKs, including north, south. Tim, Jonathan, and Brendan have done those. Yeah, so there's lots of stats, and it's good to keep a handle on it. I'll put them all up on the website. I'm trying. If anyone hears of any, the one that snuck under the radar, I've done a Black Ops. And yeah. So anyway, that's the stats. The next step of the evening would be to hand it over to one of the speakers who would like to go first. Callum or Brendan or and Grant.
Kia ora koutou, ko Callum Mallett, toko ingoa. Before I start, I'll just give a quick mihi to everyone in BNSR that's encouraged me into the hills, inspired me, and just got me out of my bed in the morning to get into the Tararua. To be honest, I don't really know why I'm up here talking. There's some really impressive CVs in this room, people that have stood up here over the years that have delivered some really remarkable stories. So really all that I'm going to do is just butter the parsnips a little. That was that note. I'm not going to offer any adventure advice. I don't consider myself that qualified to do that. So if you want that, turn up to Tuesday night next week and we can talk it over with a beer. Anyway, I was hoping Olivia would be here to share how she managed to perfectly optimize her time in the Sutton to get that fun factor out of it. She managed to one-up me by a couple of minutes on that. But I think before I go on, I should really congratulate her for that epic achievement. She's one of the greatest mountain skag dealers I know, so it's really cool to see that done. So I want to give a shout out to Brendan on the Iridium membership. It might appear in my talk that I'm quite cynical about some of the SK mantra. There's statuses, you've got the mega combo deal, platinum status, premium. I'm looking forward to getting premium. I want to get a car park before they all disappear. And they're hard to come, but they are hard to come by. But also, as they go on, you can change the slide. As I go on, I would just like to point out that there's a little bit more to the Tararua than just the SK. That's where my story is going to go. I'm going to present my personal heat map of the Tararuas as we go on. That's all the lines that I've travelled, the 1,500 peaks that I've got to, the huts that I've bagged, the two 1,500s that I haven't got to. That's damn you, Bannister. We'll get to that. And I just like maps, and my photos are really terrible. Yeah. Let's move on. You're probably thinking, why do I have a bike there? This was the year of the gravel bike for many people. There were lots of sales there at Evo Bikes, and there were quite a few moments that really knocked off my toe socks. Those were obviously the FKTs and Mount Tappy, and then more closer to home in the Tararuas, we had Emma Badup establish the Psycho Crossing, which was biking to Otaki Forks, chucking the bike on your back, and then biking your sorry legs back home. Shortly after that, Ryan and Ali set the FKT on that like a short time later. I think that just really inspires me. I'm not supposed to be biking at the moment, but I do love it. I do love the form of taking active transport to the hills. I think the question remains whether you can have a bike run in the Tararuas. Maybe ask Charlie if that's a thing. Cool. So you can thank Martini for me being here. It's going to be a little shit talk. My SK didn't really feature any drama. There was no momentous scandal. Not sure why it made the headlines. But it had been suggested to me by Sean to put a little bit of an accounting spin on it. So I'll just present my, luckily it's not cut off. I'll present my statement of service performance here. With time to spare, as I mentioned, it had been one-upped by Olivia. I think she had 32 seconds to spare. So that's maximum enjoyment on the Marchant. And then hallucinations, I had 0, but I did see one possum, and that possum was well above the bushline on Alpha Peak, and I'm not actually sure, thinking back now, if it was actually hanging off the Waratah. Carb intake. This is something I'm really proud of. This is before I even knew high carb was a thing. I'm so pleased with it that my homemade Mountain Skag Hammer Hardware gels are actually sitting up the back there with the platters if you want to try them. They are delicious, yummo. Recommend. And then I've got messages left on scene. As Martini alluded to, I was communicating over the day. There were 3 really important ones that I did leave on scene, and that was solicited advice. I had no idea what I was going to encounter between Drac, Biv and Anderson's, and there were 3 messages that I did ignore that was telling me to hydrate and top up extra water, which I really regret doing. And can really move on to navigation areas. That's in Tararua linear meters. That occurred in the same moment actually. I took a wee adventure up the Callagher High Point, which seems to be a fatal mistake that everyone seems to make. It is etched into the global heat map of Strava, so maybe it's actually just part of the route. Then we've got fun factor. I've stolen this the latch rating here from the old Ghost Ultra, for those familiar with it. Quite a big range. Really only hit my low point in the abyss that is the pit of doom heading up Bridge Peak. Like, that was, I was in a sorry state at that point. Phone battery, it's left on 1% because I forgot my headphones. Luckily I didn't bump into anyone at all on the trail listening to me belt out S Club 7 over the day. I have resurrected the International Vert Day playlist. It is now on Spotify, ready to go for the weekend to come. It is there. And then health and safety at work incidents reported, just 2. One really dramatic one that I haven't had a response to from the authorities, just to try and clear the tree roots on the Marchant Ridge, but we'll see. Cool. Moving on. So I thought I'd just contextualise some of the Tararua for me in my life, sort of where I've got to on my journey so far, and sort of what it means to me, because I think that's quite important. So we'll go right back to 1840, and that was when my great-great-great-great-grandfather, Richard Sayer, he was the chief cock here in Wellington. And I think there's stories that he died of a few too many whiskies and then at the same time honourably in the line of duty. So the rest of the family escaped over the hill to the Wairarapa. My great-great-great-grandfather, Richard Sayer, was 14 years old at the time. His dad was banished from the Wairarapa by the local Ngāti Kahungunu rangatira for not paying his dues. And then the rest is history. I think we all kind of escaped into the Tararuas at that point. Dickie Sayer, as it was called, he burnt down the totara along the Waihine Gorge, maybe to make the most runnable section of the SK Valleys. I'm not really sure. To be honest, I did it the 3 short kilometres in over an hour, so not great value there. There's a couple of peaks named after a few dicks on the topo map, attributed to him. His son Richard had a few more Richards. We've got Sayer Hut now. Sort of the rest is history. You can go on. Next slide. It's really only 6 years ago that I had my first mission in the Tararuas. Before that, I was a bit of a couch commuter, and I looked up to the hills with some quite extreme caution. Had heard stories my dad had been hopelessly lost in the hills. My granddad was a Lancer, a volunteer, just thought those hills were for the hardcore, and there was no way I was going to go out running. But anyway, you can insert, actually on that trip, that first trip was to Tortara Flats. I bumped into some people that were running from Holdsworth to Kaitoke, and I didn't really know where Kaitoke was, to be honest, but it did set me up that running was a thing, and I thought that the Tararuas were just a place to do it. You can enter the cliche COVID lockdown scenario where I got into trail running, and then I picked up fastpacking, which was really just giving my friends all the luxury items to cart in on tramps. And just one trip was up to Field Hut, and we were reading the Hut book because we had nothing else to do. No one else thought that they should take the chocolate or wine or playing cards. We had nothing to do. And it was at that point, reading that Hut book, that I went down the rabbit hole, and that was deciphering the Martini code, the code, deconstructing the website, and just really understanding what BSR was, finding out of all the classic routes and the like. So I entered the Jumbo Holdsworth Trail Race. I was pretty stoked with my Jumbo Holdsworth Trail Race, actually. I knocked off 62% from the dot sign times. And I thought that was possible in everywhere in the Tararuas until I got to the infamous magical cone saddle on my SK. Yeah. Anyway, so a year later, I sheepishly approached a friend to ask, can I turn up to Tuesday nights? But more importantly, would I be able to keep up with Essex? My first run here was a mission led by Tim Sutton, a bush bash up on the trail behind Holloway Road. And I will say that the punters have not been happy to see me repeat that on BPAC missions. But I say to them they should just bring some trail shoes. Tuesday nights are really important to me. It has been a place where we can just talk banter about mountain skag, our adventure plans, and I just had a good resolve to enter the hills and muse possibility. Cool. Anyway, there's the message history from my time talking to Martini. But anyway, as I was building my Tararua heat map,
I might have that bit about getting done.
potentially,
Yeah, I'm done.
I was reading, anyway.
going on here.
Some good stuff there, mate. That's inspiring. I'm inspired. easy to say go harder, isn't it? On the couch.
Anyway, as I was building up my Tararua heat map, I was constantly obsessing over the SK. That was reading stats, the splits, the trip reports, endless trip reports. But it actually wasn't that easy to know when it was ready. Really, it was just a case of looking at the river levels, then the first tab of windy, and to be honest, all the other tabs of windy, sorry Martini, every weather forecast out there. I do recommend you prepare. I packed all the gear and forgot it all. And this is the hard part actually, it's asking your friends with bribes and blackmail to drop you off at Pritchard Road at 4 a.m. and then maybe, hopefully, the pickup a lot earlier the next day. It's obviously the ultimate accountability though, and that's maybe telling Martini and maybe giving him a dot to watch. So yeah, I've learned some things in the hills, and maybe they're relevant to an SK. You can flip the slide. And again, actually, it's not really going to work if you don't. Yep, cool. Anyway, if I was going to give any advice, it would be first just to light the fire, and then find a moment in the hills that aren't measurable. I suggest that you maybe just enjoy the marching, or not, and then just get a little bit scared. I think that's important too. My preparation for the SK was just spending time in the hills, and my motivation really came just from everyone in this room that was doing cool shit. Yet to find, I found there's all these platitudes of finding your why, and as Martini was mentioned earlier, it's really just finding that deep admiration and respect for the hills. But to be honest, I think it's quite easy to find in the Tararua, unless you're maybe a certain podcaster from Auckland. But yeah, if you don't have that special place, and you don't find that, then I think you're just going to have a miserable time, and you might not have the glory. In the week since my SK, I've been approached by quite a few people that have been pondering an SK, potentially a Valleys, some a main range, and we all know that it's in quite a few people's matrices, often at the very top. For some, far too long. So what I thought I'd do is actually consult the SK Mystic and just see who owes us an SK mission in the season to come. I'll just use first names only, and maybe pseudonyms where it's more appropriate. We've got Alex, Alera, Chester, Sean, Connor, Grant, Alistair, Kerry, Dan, Martin, Mark, and Diego. If you know these people, I suggest you hold them into account, first of all, but maybe if they ask for help, then you should offer them a ride to Putara. It'll be really exciting to see big things in the season to come. And with that, so I've done a bit of a cost-benefit analysis since my SK, and I think it all really agreed to it being much more economical to simply be the dot than watch the dot, but we all know that's not sustainable. We need more dots, and with that, where is your next adventure?
All right, team. And thanks to Callum. It was really inspirational what you did this season, and to everyone else that was called out earlier. And thanks for the shout out, Callum, about the unfinished business I've got with the main range next season. So the theme of my talk tonight, long time listener, first time presenter, is it's all about the journey. it's all about the journey. And so I'm going to talk about my time leading up to, during and immediately after the TDS at the UTMB week in Chamonix, where I got to represent Team BSR and Mountain Skag. And so UTMB, you may have heard of it for good or otherwise reasons. It consists of 8 different races, and the race that I entered, the TDS, is the 3rd longest event. It's about 145 kilometres, it's got lots of vert, about 9,000 metres, and it starts in Italy and then finishes in Chamonix. And it's this yellow route here. And so I was first inspired to do the TDS, or actually the UTMB, after doing Northburn 100, and I was inspired to do the Northburn 100 by you good fellows as well. And but I couldn't be bothered with collecting all these stones and travelling around the world to get them. And then on one Tuesday night, this legend, Connor, he let me know that he'd done it the previous year, and he smashed it, by the way, and that is now first in, first served. No more lottery. And it's like, sweet, I've got to look into this, I've got to do it. And so I did. So let the journey begin. And so I did, however, by UTMB rules, have to qualify for a 100k equivalent race. And I got to do that with these good buggers in December of 2023, I think it was, at the Wild. You may have heard of that as well. And that was good fun, and so I had my ticket, I entered. And so my first training run, I was down home in Southland, I'm from Gore, and I took my young son, who's now 13, George, up to one of the famous peaks just outside of Gore. It's called Grant's Knob, you may have heard of it. And then also my TDS journey took me on some other adventures. Another TMR, I think a PB by another minute or two. That's pretty awesome at 46 years of age, 46 years young. And I also did some more Tararua adventures with my good mates, and I also snuck in a Route 2K just to test the legs on flatter terrain as well. So good times. Also leading up to my TDS journey in Chamonix, these 2 routes in particular. Anyone want to shout out the name of this one down the bottom here? Holy Grail. Belmont Holy Grail. If you have not done this, you need to talk to Chris Varty or myself. It's in my backyard. About 12 k's, 1,000 metres of vert, beautiful terrain. And so that was a great training ground for me, as was, and what have we got up here, guys? Yeah, so Swallow's Loop of Death. I chose to do that 3 times on Vert Day last year, and that was good fun. And I was joined by Marta on the second loop, which was just awesome. And so for me, adventure is not just about getting into the hills, it's also sharing good experiences like this. I also did a pop-up vert challenge. I thought, I was inspired a little by the big backyards, which I thought that's a funny, silly concept. I actually did one earlier this year, and it's actually quite fun. But I thought, let's climb up Climby, for a good 6 hours or so. So I pulled along 2 guys to help me experiment with this idea. Sean and Martini. Martini, you love the 10-minute breaks after each vert. I love that. Yeah, after each rep.
10 minutes back every lap.
Yeah.
What you want.
Yeah, so we might have to do that again, eh? So I came up with this number of 417 metres. You do that for 24 hours, you got 10,000 metres of vert. How cool is that? So, yeah, watch your space. And so this was leading up to my TDS adventure. Good times, thanks Andy. More adventures and suffering awaited me in France. So I sought some advice from some people who had gone over to UTMB, like Stu and some others, and I didn't have a lot of leave, so I allowed 2 weeks, and so I had 3 full days roughly before the race, which starts on a Monday at the start of UTMB week, and it starts at midnight. So that gave me some time to acclimatise, so to speak, and get over the jet lag, which was hit me hard, no sandbagging. And then the race itself, and then I had roughly 3 days after the race to just soak up UTMB and be a tourist. So 2 weeks in total. It was the time of my life. I got to stay in a chalet. It was just an Airbnb. I booked it by myself. Didn't invite my family, friends. And so I was down here. And so I had this place for 10 nights. I was pinching myself. It was like I was in this fairyland. It was just amazing. And so, it's similar to Shemanai, but different. And where I was staying, there was just paraglides, dozens of them every day, just coming off the mountain over the township, and just would fall on my doorstep. It was like real pinch yourself stuff. So scenery epic, food epic, the vibe was epic. It's like Disneyland for trail runners there. I'm sure you can guess. And so I made the most of it. And Adidas Team Terex even welcomed me into the fold. So I'm like a trail running fan, so I was just living my best life. So I had this great plan for the race. We're up to race day now, and so I like to geek out over the numbers, vert and vertical climbing and down. And so some of my race strategy was, don't be an idiot. Go start very easy. Be fresh as a daisy about 2/3 in, where I'm going to pick up my one and only race bag, and then glory awaits. I'd go through a second night and I'd finish sometime. I didn't have a race target, but I knew I could finish and wanted to finish. Now, so that was the plan, but I was about to be hit in the face, so to speak. So you have a short bus ride through the Mont Blanc tunnel, which is cool. I had quite a wait because I got on an earlier bus on the other side and on the Italian border. And so wrapped up, lay on the ground for over an hour or two, and then joined the back of this huge start shoot. I was probably in the second half of it. And so we started at midnight, and I shot off to one of the first big aid stations, which is St. Maurice. It was about 50 k's up the road, and I shot off reasonably quick because I felt like, oh shit, I didn't expect to be at the back of the pack, and I heard about these bottlenecks and conga lines, and quite quickly you just have to go at the same speed as those in front of you. And so I got to Bourg St. Maurice just after sunrise, after we saw this epic view. And I was actually a bit cooked, 50 k's into a 145k race, and I was like, shit, didn't expect this. I took about 30 minutes to gather myself. I was already pretty overheated. I think I foolishly kind of got soaked up in the racing vibe and not the adventure vibe that I wanted to have. And so this is me having a combination of soup and pasta just to power me up the upcoming hills. So yeah, it wasn't. I wasn't worried, but it wasn't a great start relative to my plan. And so I kept on going, and the vert is just incredible. The photos don't do it justice. Like relentless climbing, ups and down. Unfortunately, one year, I think it was the year prior, someone tragically lost their life falling off around this edge of the cliff. I didn't tell my wife that before entering. As the day went on, the heat was getting to me. I couldn't really take on much nutrition, fluid. I was sick at one stage, but I just kept on battling on. And I did think about pulling out at some aid stations, but I thought, nah, you got this. And I kept on going and kept on going until I got down to the end of about 2/3 into the race, down this really long technical descent, which was epic, into Beaufort, where I could have picked up a race pack. I could have had another sleep and tried to recharge, but I was worried about being dehydrated and going through another night, and I just didn't have the burning desire to push on like you do when you're on an SK or a Tararua mission. Quite often you don't have a choice, you've got to keep going in the Tararuas, right? But I thought to myself, I'm actually at peace with this. I spent 20 hours in the French and Italian Alps, how cool is this? And then so that was the end of my race. As daylight was finishing. But the cool thing is, I got a good sleep that night, and I recovered the next day. I went down to the end of the TDS race. I saw heaps of people come in and finish, all sorts of times, really inspiring, including some new Kiwi mates I got to know who'd done the race and ended up staying with me for a few nights after the race. And that afternoon, I got back up into the hills. I walked/jogged up to this, hiked up to this alpine lake, and there was actually thousands of tourists down here, and it was epic. And then I treated myself to a gondola ride back down. Like, you can't do that in New Zealand, so how cool's that? And so that was the first day after my race. And then the second day, I played tourist, and I went up to the top of Mount Blanc and right across to the Italian side of the border, and joined a gondola ride, and felt very, very, very small. And it was just like time stood still. It was hard to describe, just being up there in those big old mountains. We're above 4,000 metres altitude. Thanks, Andy. And then that afternoon, before the finish of the UTMB, I climbed up to the other side. So I was up there, Mont Blanc, and then I went up the other side of the valley, climbed it, and did a good 1,500 metre climb, had a beer, and then checked the UTMB race stats, and it's like, shit, Ruth Croft, she's firing, she's finishing strongly, and I didn't have much time to zoom back down on the gondolas to the finish line, which I did just in time to see Ruth cross the finish line. Super inspiring. It was that whole week I made it a priority just to go down and see people, some of my kind of trail running heroes, including a lot of Kiwis, cross the finish line. And it was a super cool experience. And I also met some new mates, made some new friends, Fabs, shout out to Fabs. It was Jonathan Wyatt, Lower Hutt, World Mountain Running Champion for over 10 years, works at Sportiva now. Yeah, for Lower Hutt, yeah. And you might know this face, he does some cool videos, like Andy. And to finish up, I treated myself to a paragliding as well, and so that was a really cool way to finish 10 days in Chamonix. And finally, I wanted to go over there to challenge myself, but I also like supporting good causes, and one of which is the I Am Hope Foundation, who does some really cool stuff and helps young Kiwis, have better mental health experiences and outcomes. And I think I also I can thank a number of you guys as well to help this fundraising effort, which is really cool. So one more slide. Not what's your next adventure, but what's your next journey. That's what I want you to think about. And so I think you can all relate to this, right? You enter something in the distance, in the future. Hopefully it's a big hairy goal, you get really excited about it. But everything doesn't hang on that. All the cool stuff you can do leading up to that. Some of it you may do, but a lot of it you probably wouldn't do. So think about that whole opportunity. And if you like challenges, adventure, and new experiences, definitely think about your next journey. Thanks, team.
How's that? Hear me? Most of you know, Jono and I actually did a talk last year, of our 23-24 season. I am going to take it right back to the start, but I'll keep that season pretty brief and go into a bit more detail on the season that's just been. So I'm calling it my road to Iridium, and we'll get into it. I wanted to start with this because it's a quote that I sort of live by now, but I'll read it out just in case you can't see it. But far better it is to dare mighty things, to win glorious triumphs, even though checkered by failure, than to take rank with those poor spirits who neither enjoy much nor suffer much, because they live in the grey twilight that knows neither victory nor defeat. Yeah, next one, thank you. So a bit on my sporting background from 2007 to 2014. This was me. It's probably a far better fighter than I'll ever be a runner. As a fighter, running is part of your training, but it was always sort of the chore part of the training. As a fighter, you wanted to be in the gym sparring or smashing pads or bags, and pounding the pavement was more of a need to do than a want to do. And yeah, I'd never, as a fighter, like running training was sort of like a 5 or a 7k run before training, and I'd never run more than 10k while I was a fighter. So, yeah. Oh, I should have warned you, if you don't like blood and guts, don't look at this. But anyway, yeah, this is the 19th of June 2014, yeah, a long time ago now. Yeah, I had a quad bike accident, and yeah, the quad didn't do that, but it did land on the inside of my leg, blow my thigh up, and I got what they call compartment syndrome, and the surgeons had to cut me open to release the blood. And yeah, so that was the end of my fighting career for obvious reasons. You can't be a kickboxer and have a leg that looks like that. On to the next one. Yeah, next. Yeah, so 8 years went by, and I still trained at the gym, still did boxing sparring and helped out as a trainer and what have you. But because I was no longer fighting, I no longer had to run. So running went out the window until, yeah, towards the end of 2022, when a good mate of mine asked if I wanted to do a trail race with him, which, yeah, I agreed to do. And then, yeah, began looking for places to train. And yeah, the Tararuas, I'm a Wairarapa born and bred boy. I'd looked up at the Tararuas for 35 years and never once been in them. But yeah, I can't quite see it, must be around the 20th of November, I ended up at the Putara Road end, where I went for my first ever Tararua trail run. And this is me up here, no watch, no running vest. I think I had Canterbury rugby shorts on, dirty old cotton t-shirt, and that terrible backpack that left a whopping great big welt on my back. But anyway, that was pretty much the day I fell in love with the Tararua. The next day I ran to Āti Whakatū, and then a couple of days later I ran to Power Hut, which sort of got me my first taste of the tops. And then, yeah, basically from that day on, from that day I went to Roaring Stag. Every opportunity I got, I was up in the Tararua. Next, please. And here's a bit of a brief timeline leading up to my first SK. So yeah, on the 20th of November, I went for that first run. The next day, my mate, who asked me to do that run with him, actually sent me a link to the Tararua FKT website. So that was my first introduction to the SK. And I remember just being taken by it, blown away by it, reading the stats. At that stage, I thought I was pretty bloody cool for running to Roaring Stag, but I was humbled pretty quickly when I seen what these other fellas and a lot of those ones I was reading about it in this room tonight. And yeah, so 2023, I was, like I say, I was getting up into the hills as much as I could. The seed had been planted, and then 25th of August, I purchased Andy's film, and that bloody got me all bloody barred up, shall we say, even more. And yeah, from watching that, I was dead set. I was keen to do an SK, and then I met this day here, 4th of November. I met my mate Jono. Yeah, while Martini was doing the race briefing for the undulator, we were standing next to each other, and yeah, I think Bradley described it last year as bromance or love at first sight or something. I don't know about that, but yes, something like that. We ran a bit of the undulator together. I kept getting lost, and so Jono would catch me up. And yeah, so we ran a bit with it, then had a good catch up at the end, and yeah, 4 weeks later, if we go to the next slide, we were into it, and yeah, my first SK mission, or missions, shall we say, was premium status, all within 10 weeks. So on the 2nd of December, yeah, pretty much just a year on from my first trail run, we were back at Putara where it all began for me. But this time I was yeah, ready for my first SK. Like I say, I did it with Jono, and yeah, we smashed out the Valleys. And then, what is it? Not, yeah, a bit over 4 weeks, but not quite 4 weeks later, it was time for the big dance, and yeah, we smashed out the main range. And then a couple of months later, I did my first solo SK, which was a Tarn. Yeah, on Waitangi Day 2024, so that got me premium status. Yeah, just short of 10 weeks. And next, please. Then unfortunately, I developed ITB syndrome in my right knee, which sort of put me on the sidelines for a bit. Jono kept smashing them out, but yeah, I had to just play bloody drop off and pick up boy while I was injured. But yeah, gave myself a rest, and come, what was this? I think it might be like the 26th of April, was it, Jono? It was Jono's attempt at Iridium, and I hadn't really trained because I was resting my leg, but I thought, oh bugger it, I'm coming along for the ride. And we were at Kaitoke ready to have a crack at the KS main range. Unfortunately, that was a DNF. Jono got asthma that day and was having a pretty bad asthma attack at Aret. And yeah, so that brought that day to an early finish. But not wanting to end the season on a low, a week later, I thought, bugger it, I'll go bloody get back in the winner's circle, shall we say. And I did a KS Valleys. That was the same day Charlie did his SK Valleys, did a key swap with him. And then, yeah, I hadn't quite had enough for the season, so this is about the 19th, I think it is, of just on a year ago. I did a solo SK Carkeek, which was an awesome way to finish the season. And I finished the 23-24 season with 5 down and 3 to go. And then, yeah, next please. And then we get to this, my darkest day in the range, September 28th. Yeah, I lined up 4 a.m. at Kaitoke and set off 6 hours of bliss, really, in the valleys. Got to Power Hut around 10 o'clock, where, as you can see from this photo, we'd had snow the day and night prior, which wasn't too much of an issue, to be fair. It probably slowed things down a bit, but it wasn't too bad going. The wind was cold all day, but with the right gear, it wasn't too much of an issue. From Aret, I think I got to Aret 12 hours in. That's when the weather sort of turned somewhat, got extremely claggy. The wind picked up, and then along Dundas Ridge, torrential rain set in. But it was still all right. Like it was still manageable. I was still actually having a real good day. The cooler temperatures meant that I wasn't needing to drink as much. I was stomaching food really well, and I was having a pretty good day, even though the conditions were really turning to crap. Then on Walker, it was starting to get dark. I remember putting the head torch on around West Peak, and I might as well not have put it on because the clag was that thick you couldn't see a hand in front of you, and the head torch was like driving a car with your headlights on full beam and thick fog. And yeah, I make the descent off West Peak towards East Peak, end up in Leatherwood Valley, I now call it. Yeah, sort of above Chamberlain Creek, right in the saddle there between West and East Peak. And anybody who's been up there knows you've sort of got to push through a bit of Leatherwood anyway. And I must have been pushing through a bit too hard and fast, and ended up to the left, sort of the northern side of the intended route. You wouldn't call it a track, there's no track there, there is a faint foot trail. But yeah, next thing I know, I'm in I'm in head deep Leatherwood, and I remember getting my phone out and looking at the topo map, and it looked as though I was where I was meant to be, but I clearly wasn't. And yeah, I was what happened from there was like a 20 or 25 minute brawl, probably the hardest fight of my life with Leatherwood. No matter what I seemed to do, I couldn't gain or get out of it. I tried to go under it, tried to go over it, tried to go through it, tried to backtrack, go this way, go that way, and I couldn't do it. I eventually did, but my legs looked like they'd been through a paper shredder. My face was bleeding. Not that I could feel it because my hands were frozen solid, but I'd fractured my thumb. I'd corked my thigh. I couldn't bend my bloody leg. And yeah, I remember getting out back on to where I should have been. I just thought to myself, I got to get myself 5 minutes here, in which time I experienced a full body shutdown, and no matter how hard I tried, I could not get going. So I crawled, or somehow got to the sort of south eastern side of the main ridge. Put on all the gear I had, including an emergency blanket that I ripped to shreds putting on because of the environment I was in, and hit the PLB. And I didn't take that photo for the sake of taking a photo. I took that photo because I had blurred vision and I wanted to read what was on the front. So I remember taking that photo because I didn't have reception. The weather was crap, and I wasn't sure if anybody was coming for me. It turns out I spent 11 hours up there that night. Thankfully the weather did improve. The temperature didn't get any warmer, but the wind backed off, and thankfully the rain buggered off in the end, but it was still a freezing cold night. And it must have been real early hours of the morning. I thought, I've got to know whether somebody's coming for me. So I actually attempted to stand up. That wasn't going to happen in a million years, but I held my phone up and managed to get out to my father, who was in hysterics because obviously he'd heard from search and rescue that I'd had a mishap, but knew nothing about where I was or what had happened. But he assured me that they were coming, and I assured him that I'm all right. I'm not really all right, but I'm all right. And yes, 11 hours later I got choppered out, and obviously very thankful to the search and rescue team and everybody involved. I got flown to Palmerston North Hospital, where I spent a couple of days. Then I got transferred to Marsden Hospital. I obviously got put in a cast. Then I can't remember what they call it, but my CPK levels were through the roof. It's quite common in ultra runners, but because of my circumstances, it was even worse, and they didn't want to let me out of hospital until they come down. So got out of hospital a few days later. Unfortunately, my family was away at the time overseas for about a month, so I was alone. I was beating myself up. And I reached some pretty dark places, to be fair. Wasn't helped by keyboard warriors who felt the need to put the boot in, even though they A, knew nothing about my situation, B, knew nothing about me, and C, would never have the balls to say anything to my face, but they still felt the need to put the boot in if I wasn't beating myself up already, but that shows the calibre of person they are. And yeah, maybe 3 days out of hospital, like I say, I was in a dark place, but I remember looking in the mirror, and the day before I'd looked in the mirror and called myself all sorts of names, and then the next day I looked in the mirror and said, you got two options. You either sit here feeling sorry for yourself, or you get back on your horse and use this as a learning experience and just come back stronger. And I did the latter. So I was in a cast for maybe three or 4 weeks, a lifetime of drinking plenty of milk, and maybe a few white lies to the doctor. I mean, I got out of a cast pretty early. And even when I was in a cast, I began cycling about a week later when my legs finally come right, and then started running even with a cast on, because I just could not wait to get back in there. I had heaps of people say, oh, I bet you're not going to do that again. I bet you're not going to do that by yourself again. And I just thought, it just shows me you don't know nothing about me, because I could not wait. And if we go to the next one, 6 weeks later, I was back at Kaitoke and ready for my redemption run. And yeah, it was a much better forecast, and yeah, I was away. I think I started about close to 4:30 this time. Hamish, the Greytown Goat, started from Patupaiarehe, and we met there at Pukeahurangi Jumbo Peak. He started at about 2 a.m. He smashed out a 19-hour SK Tarn, and I smashed out my my redemption Tarn, got the KS done, and with it I beat my SK time by about 2 minutes, and that wasn't really the goal. I was up there I was just happy to be back up there. I wouldn't say facing my fear, because I didn't go into it with any fear. I think if I went into it with fear, I wouldn't have done it. But yeah, Bradley described this as a face of somebody who just beat their own FKT. Well, it's actually the face of somebody who just shook a whole lot of demons off their back and got it done. Next one, please. And yeah, just about 10 days later, I think Jono and I had a crack at the 1500s, but the weather was far from ideal. We were, it was manageable sort of to Lancaster. From Lancaster it started to rain, and then a light southerly picked up. It wasn't a strong southerly, but it was a southerly enough to chill us to the bone. I remember going through like the Three Kings and McGregor and that, and no matter how quick we moved, we were freezing. So the call was made at Power to pull pin, and yeah, my wife come and collected us from the Holdsworth road end. Then I think this is around the 16th of January, first day off the farm for 2025. I went and smashed out the reverse Carkeek. Had a real good day in the range that day. It was borderline too hot, but no, it was closest you're probably going to get to perfect conditions. And then yeah, Jono and I had planned not to do it together, but at least attempt our KS main range to hopefully both get Iridium on the 22nd of February. But yeah, I had Waitangi Day. This is the 6th of February. I had Waitangi Day off. So I thought, and I think Hamish was keen to have a crack at the main range. So I thought, oh shit, I'll go have a crack too. And it turns out it was just like the first, I think to Pukeahurangi, it was awesome. It was cool. It was calm. It was perfect. And then as soon as you got out of the bush, around Nichols, it became a bloody sauna. And yeah, I got to Bridge Peak. I think it might have been short of 16 hours. I could have death marched my way to Kaitoke, but I wasn't there for just a sub 24. I was there to better my previous time, and with the thought of having the opportunity to redeem myself again on the KS main range a couple of weeks later, I made the decision to turn right that day and go shopping rather than bloody sacrifice the legs anymore. So yeah, I had a mixed mid-season, but yeah, still grateful for all the missions and yeah, all the lessons learnt. Now if we go to the next one, this is the Iridium mission, which also happened to be my 38th birthday. Back at Kaitoke, ready to get that Iridium. Started a couple of hours after Jono. I think Jono set off around 2. I set off no, you must have set off at midnight, did you? Yeah, you set off at midnight. I set off at 1:53, and yeah, managed to get Iridium that day. Being my birthday, I wanted to see my kids, so the goal was if I left at 2 to get to Patupaiarehe by midnight, so I could at least see my kids on my birthday. I actually managed to get there before 11. They weren't even there. I'd beaten them there. So, but yeah, they got there soon after I arrived, and yeah, I got to enjoy the last hour of my birthday with my kids. So that was a cool day and awesome to have ticked off all 8 SKs or all 4 SKs in both directions within 16 months. But that wasn't quite enough to satisfy me for the year. So if we go to the next one, yeah, I thought, bugger it, let's go big and ice the cake on 16 months of being a SKer. And yeah, you can't quite see me here, but here's me ready to tackle the 1500s. And I wanted to share these photos. I reckon it's like a phone battery, but my smile's like the bars going down on the battery. This is me at Logan, full of enthusiasm, smiling like a Cheshire tomcat. Here's me at Lancaster, still happy, but yeah. And then Mitre, smile sort of going a bit, and then that's on Angle Knob. Yeah, Angle Knob, I was pretty bloody, it was bloody hot that day. It was claggy, but it was hot, and I wasn't fueling right, but yeah, I was in darkness from Holdsworth Trig, and sort of got my second wind, having the big downhill down Tocha Creek track to where I turned off it up to Cone Ridge. Yeah, darkness sort of helped me along the way, and I was in darkness, so yeah, from below Holdsworth Trig all the way to Alpha. I went up Winchcombe, Neil Winchcombe, first time ever being up there. And yeah, it was like as I was going up, I hit Cone Peak, and I could feel the weather changing. Like I wanted colder weather when I was in the Eastern Tops. Well, shit, I got it when I hit Cone. Back in the bush, then when I got to Neil, yeah, it was a reminder of what I was going to be met with when I hit Winchcombe, and sure enough, I hit Winchcombe, and yeah, it was almost deja vu. I dreamt that it was going to turn there, and it had, but I just made the mission for me. Like I do this because I love it. I do this for the challenge, and to be up there in those conditions, smashing out what I class as the biggest single push without sleep mission you can do in the Tararua. Yeah, I was right in my element, and yeah, I turned left at Hector and went through to Kaitoke. Yeah, so the stats were 99k, just over 9,000 metres vert, and 30 hours and 15 minutes. For the last 19 hours of that mission, all I ate was a banana, so it's fair to say I was well and truly underfueled. But we got it done, and we had a whole lot of fun doing it. So yeah, and I think that might be us. But yeah, thank you, and until next season.
Hey folks, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Joe Murphy. I'm last year's guardian of the Patupaiarehe. I'm gutted not to be able to make the awards tonight, but I expect that you're all having a great night hearing about and celebrating everyone's adventures. As usual, there's been some outstanding things take place in the Tararuas this past year. I wanted to start by calling out and congratulating Callum and Olivia for conquering their main range SK. It's a very hard and very special accomplishment. It was so good to see you both take it on and succeed. Like 22 seconds, Olivia. 2024 had us in awe of Charlie Ruck competing a sub 24 hour SK Valleys at 17. And again, a sub 24 hour Tarn SK at 18 this year. But then this past year, not only has another 17-year-old with Jake McClellan competed a sub 24 hours Valleys, but Eben Cappy at 15, and then finally Albert O'Reilly lowered the bar even further to 14. It's incredible stuff, and it shows the spirit of the adventure in the Tararuas and of the SK is in healthy hands. The Patupaiarehe Award is a treasure, a taonga for our community. Each koru signifying an extraordinary endeavour in the Tararuas by an individual. I was immensely privileged to have my name added to this group along with Brendan and Jonathan last year. I'm delighted to be able to pass on the award to this year's recipient. When I saw their achievement of completing the Tararua 1500s come through, I had to take a few minutes and simply reflect on the immense difficulty of such a feat. Joining an exclusive club of people to have been awarded the Patupaiarehe twice, I want to congratulate you, Brendan, on an outstanding couple of years in the range, and we all look forward to seeing what you get up to next. This year's Patupaiarehe Award is awarded to Brendan Varty. Congrats.
So in absence of any sound, I haven't prepared anything, but I'm happy to say a few words. We've got the I'm holding the Patupaiarehe Award, and this was the brainchild of our mate Chris Swallow, and the idea was we've got the SK, and then we've got sort of where the imagination takes you after the SK, and so the idea was that this award represents extraordinary human endeavour within the Tararua range, and there was no award at the time that it was first presented back in 2017, and so because this group of nutters has given so much to me, I decided that I wanted to do something to give back to the group, and so I carved this taiaha, and I've been really lucky to get it back every time something epic goes on in that range, to add another koru to the growing fern that's extending its way along the shaft, and so each of these korus, you haven't seen this award before, represents somebody's big adventure in the range above and beyond a main range SK. So each of these is a person's contribution to the history of epic missions in the range. And so it came back to me this year. Joe and I met up. Joe was the latest Kaitoke or guardian, who has looked after the Patupaiarehe Award, and he couldn't make it tonight, but we had a chat yesterday, and he's put together a wee chat to very like a mind-bogglingly worthy recipient, and he's actually just sat back down, but Brendan, if you could come up to the front. I know that you've already got a koru on here, but in true Brendan Varty style, you've added another one on really quickly. And I was actually really lucky to get to spend Friday afternoon traversing the Anil Winchcombe Ridge in the light, with views, no wind, sunshine, and even then it took me back to going through that route in the dark at the end of a big adventure, and it reminded me of just how big that achievement is, pushing on from the eastern side of the range through that wild bit of country, and then to turn left and trim so much time off what is already an amazing achievement. Yeah, it's epic, and it inspires, and I think it inspires a lot of people. So yeah, I'm going to stop talking, but
thank you very much.
We'd like you to be the next Kaitiaki of the Patupaiarehe Award, until you get the honour of passing it on to the next recipient.
Thank you very much.
But,
awesome. Thanks,
yeah.
Tim.
Thanks, Tim. But no,
thanks everybody. It's probably a good opportunity to thank everybody who has inspired me. As I said, I first learned of the SK back at the very end of 2022, and yeah, a lot of that inspiration come from reading trip reports and all the names like Tim Sutton, Chris Swallow, Colin Ralph. Yeah, they all inspired me. They're the ones who paved the way for people like me. Nothing I've done is my idea. Yeah, people have done it long before I even would be able to name a 1500 metre peak. So yeah, thank you to everybody who's paved the way and inspired me, and also a big thanks to the Tararua itself. Yeah, we probably all feel the same way. She's a pretty special place, gets in your blood. When I'm not up there, I'm looking up at it, wishing I was, especially though on a night like this. It looked beautiful tonight as I was driving to town. I'm fortunate where I'm not from the house, but from where I spend a lot of my time out on the farm. I get to, I can see bloody near the full length of it, all the eastern 1500 metre peaks. I can see Bannister 1513. And when I first started trail running, I remember looking up and looking at Maita and thinking, I'm going to run to you one day, which I did. Then I sort of looked at, I can see a lot of the Tarn route. I thought, well, I'm gonna run that one day, which I did. And then, yeah, in more recent times, it's been looking up at all the 1500s that I can see. I can see all the Three Kings, Angle Knob, McGregor. Yeah, as I say, Bannister 1513. I can see all them from the back of the farm, and yeah, for months prior to doing the 1500s, I looked up there every day. They weren't buried in clag. Thought, well, I'm going to tick all you off in one push. And yeah, to have done it, it's almost surreal. But like I say, it's not my idea. The likes of Tim done it long before I ever stepped foot in the range. So thanks very much, and thank you all.
Yeah, that was a great night, and let's hope next season is as good as this one. It's rolling on, so hopefully if anyone watches this online or anything, they're inspired, and let's keep the missions coming, keep the dots coming. Hey, well done guys.